Welcome back to In Between. This is a space for people in Vietnam navigating their life across countries, cultures, languages, identities, or even transitions. I'm joined today by Hayo, the founder of Crosslinks Asia. He works with companies in FMCG, financial services, or even high-tech manufacturing.
Correct.
To not just enter Southeast Asia, but to actually make things work on the ground. So good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, you.
Yeah, how are you?
Lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I know that you have spent over a decade in consulting before building CrossLink Asia. So
Correct.
what was that moment when you thought, I want to build something different?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Actually, during my upbringing, I grew up around entrepreneurs. So my father had his own company, my uncle had his company. So from a very young age, I got exposure to the workings and it's kind of like mindset of people who are building their dream effectively. And as I entered university, I studied industrial engineering, and through that started my career in aerospace manufacturing. Then, as you mentioned, got to a decade of management consulting, and after that I actually thought I had the right amount of experience and the toolkit that I felt I needed to start my own business.
Which years was that?
So I founded CrossLink Asia in May 2024. So in about 3 weeks we have our 2-year anniversary.
Wow, invite me.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
So why you choose Southeast Asia and like why now Vietnam?
I actually have traveled throughout Asia about 15 years ago, and I was really impressed by the cultures, the diversity, but also by the rapid development. And then my life actually took me back to the Netherlands and to Australia, which I've worked in both places. And then the opportunity arose to take on a project in Vietnam. And whilst visiting, I was absolutely blown away by the rapid development, the culture, the values, and I thought it was a great place to contribute to the economy. That was a big jump because I had not had any working experience with Vietnamese or in Southeast Asia other than Singapore. So that definitely had like some of its. It was definitely an adventure, but worthwhile.
So I imagine building something is very exciting, but at the same time it's very chaotic. You ever feel like it's more complex, like harder than you expected?
Oh, you're so hitting the nail on the head with the word chaotic. I think building something from the ground up, the opportunity, because you believe in what I believe in what I'm building, right? I'm very enthusiastic and give it everything, but equally. CrossLink Asia is a business that has got an advisory side of things. So we advise companies on how to enter or increase market share in Vietnam for premium brands from Australia or Europe. But on the other hand, we also have a distribution arm where we actually buy the products in foreign countries and we import them into Vietnam and sell them here. So they're both distinct businesses. And when I started building the advisory first and second, the wholesale trading side, I thought it would be, I oversimplified it in my head compared to the reality, because as I was building the regulatory framework, the network required to get contracts over the line, the many hats you wear as a founder, that's all real, and that required some mental gymnastics from time to time.
So since you starting CrossLink Asia to now,
Yeah.
what was the biggest mistake that you have made? Well, that you think when you look back, you feel like, oh, I could have done it differently.
Oh, simple. That's easy.
Okay.
I have made. Okay, so that's easy because there's many to choose from. I've made many mistakes along the way.
Choose one.
but the biggest one has to be that about like 1 year ago, I decided to put all my eggs in one basket. Meaning, I had just pitched and won the distribution contract, so that the company was going to expand into wholesale trading and distribution, and we had a first product line, pet food, arranged. Now the learning, the mistake and the learning that I took from it, the mistake was that I focused so much on getting that side of the business up and running that I didn't spend enough time on the advisory side with the team. And as a result, when we had a few headwinds on the wholesale distribution side of things, and we didn't make enough progress to actually have product on market to sell, the pipeline for the business on the advisory side was also not big enough that we had sufficient income to comfortably work our way through the calendar year. So that was I think in hindsight, one of my biggest mistakes. And as of 2026, the team and I have actively worked on not just wholesale trading, but also the advisory business to make sure that if there's a headwind with one, that we still have traction, movement, and income through the other, so it balances each other out.
How about like big experienced companies? Do you know what kind of mistake they normally make?
It doesn't really matter whether you're a $3 million business or a $3 billion business. Mitigating the downside whilst you're navigating through a new product launch, product development, or regional expansion is something that's often not overlooked but undercooked, meaning people do spend time on risk management and how to ensure you don't end up in a place you don't want to be, but they don't spend enough time on it, or they don't have sufficient plans in place as a business that if something occurs, how do you respond well to that? And a good example of that is, for instance, geopolitical tension. So last year, as everyone probably remembers, at least everyone in business definitely remembers, is that the US government imposed worldwide trade tariffs. Most companies were very ill prepared for that. Had a big volume that was labeled to go to the US, but suddenly everything was stuck in their warehouses, and people couldn't do more jobs because the warehouses were already full, and the company had to switch gears. And what switch gears usually meant, and this is how it ties into our advisory business, is that companies started looking to sell product into Vietnam or other Southeast Asian countries or other countries that they weren't present yet. And that's a good strategy, but you should have started that way before, because the moment that the US government announced the tariffs, everybody was doing the same thing, and therefore you're just in a highly competitive market dynamic.
What do you think if a company wants to enter Vietnam and grow in Vietnam, if you have to cut all the noise?
Yeah.
So what are, let's say, 3 things that you think it really matters?
Look, that's an excellent question, and often you need to start with the fundamentals. Where I would start is have a very clear view on your objective and the deliverables you want to achieve in the first 6, 9, and 12 months. Then the second thing is surround yourself with the right team. And I mean that not just your core team, but also with the subject matter expertise required to move or expand in a market like Vietnam. And you have to think here about legal, accounting, review on permits, tax regulations, then your D2C, if your products goes directly to customers or consumers, that these are all expertise that you will enable you to move quicker in market. And the third one is mitigating the downside, having a plan in place that if things don't go exactly how you planned or not at the velocity or the speed that you planned it for, you have a plan that says, okay, if that happens, these are the steps that I will take in order to either have income or to cut spending so that the company can stay afloat and can manage through this cycle.
But how long it takes for you in practice. Vietnam is moving fast, but here we also have our own ways of doing things, right? So how you balance that? You just say like the speed and all these local system, very different from other countries. So like for you, how long it takes in practice to actually find the right people, the resources?
Correct. So and I think that's where you either make or break your business case. You need to focus on all these three elements that I mentioned, because to your point, Vietnam is rapidly developing when you look at GDP growth. However, if you look at government reform, that is a continuous ongoing cycle. So they are always still looking at optimizing current processes, and some processes, they may take a while, like establishing a business with a local business partner still took about 4 to 6 weeks. Applying for an import license for some of the products that we want to put to market still took 6 to 8 weeks, even though the website's being updated, the workload. So you have to anticipate that in a rapid developing country, things still can make time, and you have to have that third part in place that I mentioned of the three items, which is have a plan in place on what you'll be doing, even though you're in a holding pattern for that license or registration or what have you. Then to answer your other question is like, how do you find the right people? There's a lot to be said for networking. And networking, obviously, through networking events. But these days, I also get a lot of insights through forums like Facebook group or WhatsApp groups that are around, where people post similar sort of like problem statements and as well as that other people are offering their services to help out. So if you start off just like me with a very limited network in Vietnam, you have to get out there, but there are really easy, low barrier ways of finding people that either have been in a similar situation and can help, or have been in a similar situation and are willing to have a coffee and a chat. And through that way, you actually can cover a lot of ground quickly.
This Southeast Asia market or Vietnam market specifically is actually high growth market or is oversold?
No, it's definitely a high growth market. I think there's several factors that are underpinning the high growth that are undeniably true. So, for instance, one factor here is a young population, a young adult population. So there's many young adults in Vietnam, and more so than in other Southeast Asian countries. I think the median age is about 33 years old. And they're all in the working force. They're all trying to look after the family and get a better life for themselves. So that usually is a good economic growth engine. Then on top of that, there's a very good business environment and steady government, right? There's not many radical government changes. There's a lot of policies being put in place that favor small businesses as well. So one of the last policies that has been put in place for local businesses is that the first 3 years, I believe, they are exempt of profit tax.
Yeah.
Check this with your lawyer if you want to be sure, but my understanding is...
No, that's true.
But these are all really, really great signals from a government that they are open for business and they love entrepreneurs to build and be successful. So like these fundamentals, come back to your question, is it growth market or oversold? I think it's a growth market because of these trends that are undeniably true.
Southeast Asia is not a market because it's, how to say, Vietnam is different from Thailand, is different from Indonesia, every country is different. And even if you talk about within Vietnam, Hanoi is different from Ho Chi Minh City. So what do you think? What work here but wouldn't work in other countries?
I think what works here really well is the business environment that is being created to start up businesses. So if you ever consider to start up a business in Vietnam, now is a really good time. I just mentioned one of the tax
privilege,
benefits.
yeah.
There are other benefits out there, and the government's really trying to roll out schemes to get more small business enterprises up and running in the country. And I'm not sure if that's the same for Indonesia and Thailand. So I think in that sense, if you're ever considering of building your own business, now is a great time. Just have a crack, have a go, try it out, and make it work.
I think companies, they fail because they normally copy and paste the playbooks market to market. So they think, oh, it's going to be the same. Same with the Chinese companies I work with, because I live in China before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then when they want to expand to Vietnam, and there was like, because they have a lot of money, they want to so they want to do something.
Sure.
So the ambition is there, and they think it's gonna work. It works in China for sure. In Vietnam, we're gonna be successful. But at the end, after 2-3 months, it shut down. I think for a few projects already that I participate. That's what I mean by saying there's no Southeast Asia market, but
Correct.
country by country.
I couldn't agree more. And you really have to have that cultural lens. So what I've seen working really well in Vietnam, it doesn't work well in other countries. For instance, in Australia, but also in Southeast Asia. So I'll give you an example. Vietnamese people, when they are considering to buy pet food for their dog or their cat, they're very, very focused on how much nutritional value does it actually have, how much does it benefit my dog or my cat, will their coat look better, or is it better for their gut health? People in Australia don't look at that at all. They just look at promotion and price. Now, similarly, from what I understand, Indonesia is very, very price-driven market.
Okay.
And therefore, if you have a playbook that works well in Indonesia, you may up falling short in Vietnam, because it's not here all about price. And if it was, then people would buy pet food that is locally made in Vietnam, whereas data clearly shows that people, especially young adults, they prefer pet food that is from overseas.
So what do you enjoy most when you are living and working here now?
Wow, that's a really good question. I think there's, on the business side, I really enjoy building the brand, and it's more about the journey than the outcome in that sense. So the building with the people, and our team has got like Vietnamese people, has got people from other countries, and we all have to get together in order to get to the solution and work with the processes to either solve problems for our client on the advisory side, or actually have product on shelves on the wholesale trading side. And it just gives me a lot of energy then when we work together and we actually manage to get the outcome that our clients expect from us, and the praise that comes with it. And a testament to that is that we're now 2 years old and we're still growing.
When you are working with, let's say, international team and Vietnam team, do you feel it's very, very different?
What I love working with Vietnamese people in my team is they're very driven to perform the tasks, and they want to be successful and have a learning attitude, especially the younger people. But it's very much learning on the task. And where the international teams that I work with, they the way I work with them is slightly different, where they are more focused on longer term work execution, and they don't seek the clarity on a task level.
How has living in Vietnam shaped or changed the way you look at maybe doing business or even your personal life?
Okay, yeah, I absolutely love living in Vietnam. Let me put that out there. I absolutely I think the community sense, the values, and obviously the great cuisine and everything. It gives me a lot of pride and joy to live here, and it has changed the way I do my day to day, in a way that I'm more relationship focused. I'm trying to think long term with the Vietnamese people I work with as well. So rather than seeing everything as a one-off project, I look at like, okay, is there a potential that we can collaborate longer term and through that be both more successful? And that's been working well so far.
A lot of people I see that they normally look at Vietnam like a low-cost market. Is it true? What normally companies they underestimate about the cost of operating here?
When Western companies that decide to outsource to Vietnam, or when local companies set it up, you have a different sort of like expectation and business case, right? Overall, when I speak to my network, the Western companies that are here are very happy to be here because it is indeed more cost efficient than manufacturing the same products or goods or services in their own country. However, of sometimes the cost may be higher than they anticipated because of navigating the regulatory difficulties. There may be some quality issues or processing issues that they're working through, but then still taking that into account, they would say overall they're happy to be here and to be contributing to the economy of Vietnam. And then for local companies, I think Vietnam is a great base of operations to start your business and to build it out. You might consider other perceived cheaper countries, but take it from me, like setting up a business in a foreign country, it's not that easy and often not as cheap as it appears on a spreadsheet.
Yeah. The good thing about Vietnam is we have a very young and ambitious workforce,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you think the young people here, they have an age and what should they focus on to be able to compete globally?
Right. Really important question. In my sense, it's about speed and agility. So it's okay if you don't know what you want to do for the rest of your life. I surely did not know that when I was 25, right? But I took the mindset of acquiring the skill set needed to be successful in the marketplace. Now, what are the skills and the mindset you need nowadays, 2026? Yeah, you cannot get around AI and AI capabilities, system thinking, as well as structured problem solving. So why do I say these three things? AI is the easy one because obviously through AI, whether you start working at a big corporate or at a small business like mine, AI is going to be an influencing factor of how you automate certain workflows inside your organization, and you will definitely get in, be using it in your day to day. Then on the other sides that I mentioned, structured problem solving remains a key focus area because an AI like ChatGPT, I'm sure you tried it, but at times it's hallucinating and it's not saying the right things. And it's often that when they do say it, it's trained on model and data that already exists. But some problems that you'll be solving for your company or for yourself, your personal life, are challenges that haven't been solved before and that an AI cannot solve for you. So having your structured problem solving skills through which you may use AI along the way is still very, very important and will definitely have its place. So those three things are the key ones.
But how about yourself? What kind of personal adjustments that you did when you moving to Vietnam, working here? What do you adjust?
The biggest adjustment I had to make has to be And there's quite a few, so that's why I'm taking a moment. But it just has to be the fact that even if I want to execute something, my ability to execute is quite limited because I don't speak the language and I'm quite new to the culture. The cultural thing you can read from books, but there's just no way I can learn how to speak Vietnamese in 2-3 months or 1 year. So my biggest adjustments for me is applying my problem solving skill set and having my business plan that all look great on a spreadsheet, but then finding a way to be able to execute that plan, manage the problems that we were facing, whether it's regulatory, permits, financial, all that sort of stuff, whilst working with Vietnamese people that don't necessarily speak English. So my biggest adjustment has been to be able to execute in a local mindset, in a local setting, without speaking the local language. Imagine us living in Sydney. The same business problems I would have in that working environment, but I could likely solve them more easily myself because I speak English and I sort of like understand the process. If I look up the process here on government websites, it's often still in Vietnamese. And if I want to talk to government officials, that's also so. The same rigor and problem-solving mindset that I built up over the years applies, but in order to get to the solution, I have to work with trusted people in order to get that done.
I feel like a lot of things turn out to be like a language problem.
I mean, for me, it is often, obviously. Yeah, no, sure. I think the beauty in it is I don't struggle with the culture. Like the culture is a great fit, also for me personally and the business.
Yeah.
But
Easygoing.
oh yeah, thank you. I'll take that. Thank you very much. But very much enjoy working here as well as living here. The language is just a very obvious problem, right? It's definitely not the only problems I have, but it's the first one I need to overcome in order to do business here, for sure.
Let me ask you the last question.
Sure.
If you were starting over
Yeah.
at 25 in Vietnam today, what would you focus on?
If I was starting over 25 today,
In Vietnam.
what I would do is come back to the 3 things I mentioned before, which is there's some really key themes in the working market that I found, and that is get comfortable with AI, the AI tools, and how to apply them in a business sense. So everyone can have ChatGPT write an email, but take the mindset of how do I optimize this workflow through AI? And with a workflow could be how a company does their invoices, or how HR processes are being done, or procurement between a Vietnamese company and an international company. How can you improve that with AI? If those are real clear-cut examples that if you manage to have answered, you have an immediate market. Even at 25, there are real companies paying real money. If you can go to them and say, I can help you simplify your procurement process with your New Zealand customers within 10 days. You know, that is real examples that are relevant now and will be relevant for the next 10 years. So I would definitely get comfortable with AI. Then the second one is practice and build up your network. So practice networking and build up your network. I believe that now more so than ever, people are becoming more digital.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the decision makers in companies, they still make the decision based on who they know.
Yeah.
And for the foreseeable future, an AI chatbot if an AI chatbot sends me a convincing message that I need to spend $100,000 on a solution they offer, I still won't do it because I prefer the human touch, right? So practice next to your AI toolkit, practice the networking. And then lastly, problem solving, right?
Yeah,
And then and that laps in with the first one, because what do I mean with problem solving? It's like, okay, look at AI. You know AI and you know it can write emails. Now apply a problem solving mindset from a company over that and say, okay, what problems do companies face and how can I apply AI to solve that? Because if you manage to do that, you immediately have a product or service you can offer today. So these are the three things that I would focus on if I was 25 now. And I honestly would be so excited about the future, because there's a huge improvements and the way improvements coming in the way we're working, in the way we're living, in the way we're approaching life. But honestly, I think 25, being now between the ages of 20 and 30, it's like the golden age. Like,
I want to go back there.
You're not that far away.
Yeah, and that's the wrap for today's episode of In Between. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you,
and
Neil,
I
for having
enjoyed
me.
very much
Thank
the
you.
conversation. If this conversation resonates with you, so please help us share with someone else who also navigating their in between. Thank you so much, and I see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you.